I come from Miami, where Cuba was the place where everything had been lost. Youth, innocence, everything. Old Cuban men played dominoes on Southwest 8th Street, waited for Fidel to die, complaining, it wasn't always this hot in Cuba. The cafe con leche was stronger in Cuba. The women were prettier in Cuba. Everything was better, and now it's gone. So near, and yet so far. Then, of course, there's those aging lefties who see Cuba as the last hope, where the revolution is happening and not being televised every single day. The last piece of land on earth that can't be owned by the United States, and even that is changing. Either way, Cuba is something of the postcard that we can't send. There's wonder in Havana's narrow, crowded streets where no Starbucks or McDonald's go, and they don't take American Express. The wonder of a forbidden place, the unphotographed. And there's the allure of smuggled footage. If you look close, that figure there, sort of in the center, just 10 rows from me in the stands, that's Fidel. See, look right there, Fidel, the famous beard. In Cuba, baseball is played by kids in the streets constantly. In empty lots I saw game-winning home runs and diving backhand catches and effortless swings, lost to history every day under a blazing sun. This is the stuff of ad campaigns back home. Something as fleeting as the smell of roasted peanuts and ditching work, captured on film, could be used to convince people to spend millions of dollars to build new stadiums downtown. Places that were a testament to the desire that the city would become what it once was, vibrant and untroubled. But there was a real memory in these Havana streets. Revolutions and coups, long lines for food, waiting, hoping. A memory like the timelessness in baseball itself. Kids chasing balls, past the stray dogs eating garbage on Calle Virtudes, past men drunk on rum pissing on 500-year-old walls. Coming up the ramp into the crowd at a stadium Latino Americana, I could remember everything too. The tropical breeze full of promise, the couples riding double on bikes and sweating in line for cups of ice cream, kids chasing balls rolling down summer streets forever. There was a murmur, a buzz in the crowd, hushed and expectant, almost reverent, as the cameras from the U.S. rolled, spiraling this moment away into the past. This was history, the first time in 40 years that the USA had played in Cuba. Charles Johnson, the Orioles catcher, he's from Miami too. He drilled a homer to deep center in the third to put the visiting U.S. up 2-0. And then, the game settled into a sleepy, dreamlike newsreel, where inning after inning, each side would put a few men on but couldn't score. The game seemed to lengthen like the shadows in right field taking on an extra gravity. There were long strategy sessions on the mound, each move filled with nuance and subtlety. It was 40 years of U.S.-Cuba relations, all in 9 innings, and something seemed to carry the game forward with a certain inevitability to a tie score, to extra innings. As Cuba scraped out a couple runs to tie it up in the 8th, I watched Fidel the whole time, but he never laughed or cheered or clapped or even stood up. As the runs crossed the plate, he just seemed to nod slightly. Of course, I was rooting for Cuba, the last country that dared to tell the U.S. to fuck off. But Baltimore scored a single run in the top of the 10th. Cuba still had an inning to tie, but a murmur went through the crowd as a strong breeze off the Gulf blew in, a tropical breeze full of promise and ultimately disappointment. There was doubt writ large, a whole stadium of long faces, so near yet so far. Cuba went down 1-2-3 in the 10th. There was no reaction from Fidel as the crowds filed out into the hot, dusty streets and into the crowded buses, the timeless, sad march of losing. And not a single store on Calzada de Infanta had even a drop of water for sale, and no one had a peso anyway. I wanted to get drunk on rum and stagger into 500-year-old walls, but instead, up the street, I got in a game with some kids in an empty lot. I took first base, We had a stick and a ball made of tape. I later learned that besides me and Fidel, Bill Gates had been at the game. I wish I'd been able to see Gates, to yell at him, "Hey, what's it feel like to be the world's richest man in a country where people wait in line all day for a brick of butter? And how's it feel to know you can't buy everything?" But if there's any place where the world's richest man might learn that, it's Cuba, where there's game-winning home runs and empty lots, effortless swings and cups of ice cream, lost to history, crowded streets narrow and unphotographed, waiting, hoping, where everything was lost, like balls rolling down summer streets forever, so near and so far, and you have all the money in the world, and you can't go back.